Welcome back to another conversation with the Brothers of Two Complex. We appreciate you for viewing this video. We think you're going to love it. Before you get into the content, make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and hit that notification bell so you miss none of the bangers that we drop every single week. We appreciate the love. God bless.
Last week, Russell Wilson took his family to the NBA All-Star Weekend festivities, and him and he's called Baby Future, but I believe his real name is Zaire. Were wearing Kobe Bryant jerseys, and ESPN and the NBA social media pages made us aware of it by referring to Russell Wilson and Zaire as Russell Wilson's son. Artist Young Scooter replied to those social media pages and said that is not his son. Sticks, talk to me. How you feel about this?
So, in this situation, I'm going to put it this way. In this situation, Young Scooter is 100% wrong in this situation. 100% wrong. Because we're talking about Future here, who has double-digit children that he doesn't take care of. Well, I can't say that. I think he takes care of the most recent ones. I believe. I don't look into his life that much because it's not my business. But he has multiple kids he does not take care of. Young Future, Zaire being the most notable that he does not take care of. And Russell Wilson stepped into that situation with Sierra and took that child as if it was his and has been more of a father to this young man than Future has ever been. And I think they've been together how many years now? I think 6-7 years now, I want to say. Probably more than that.
Yeah, they've been together for a while, yeah.
For a while. And Future has not been active. Russell Wilson has been 100% there for this child. So to shout out ESPN and All-Star Weekend, yeah, that is Russell Wilson's son. In a situation, and I'm gonna make it personal because we talked about this off camera. I'm gonna make it personal because in a situation like mine, where I have moved my entire life to be present in my daughter's life, if my daughter and her mom's husband if that happened to me, I would shout to the mountaintops, like, the fuck is y'all talking about? Like, no, wait. That is not her father. Like, her father is 100% present in her life and has always been 100% present in her life. I am not Future. That is two different sides of the spectrum. He's extreme to one side. I am extreme to the other side. Like, that is two different things. So if that happened to me, I would be pissed off. But that happened in the future. That is warranted because Future is not the father of that kid. He is the sperm donor, 100%, but he's not the father. Russell Wilson is definitely the father in that child's life. So I agree with ESPN in this sense. What's your take on it? Young Scooter, you an idiot too. That don't make no sense. I didn't even know who Young Scooter was. I was like, who the fuck is this guy? Like, whatever.
And you know how I feel about certain situations. Maybe this was to get his name out more. But I mean, you know,
maybe
whatever.
maybe that was a little publicity stunt on his side. Yeah,
respectfully, and you know how I feel about you.
100%. Yeah.
I respect you 100%.
Yeah, brothers,
I don't think the situation matters.
Okay,
I understand how you feel. I understand how some individuals may look at the situation, but however the biological parents separated, that's on them. But if a step parent, bonus parent, whatever you want to call it, steps into a situation, regardless of if the relationship with the child is good or bad, or if they're present or not, I think that step parent is as much of a parent to that child as the biological parent, especially if they're like doing the best that they can do, right? Like they're not treating the kid bad. Yeah. If they're not doing anything, malicious to the child, they're treating them as their own. If somebody calls that child the son or the daughter of the step parent, I don't see anything wrong with it because they, like I said, they're just as much they're just as not biological. They're just as much a parent, and having a hand in raising that child as much as possible. We got to stop this. It's almost like we don't want children to have parents sometimes when we do stuff like this. And again, your situation is different, and I'm not saying anything about the parents that are actively involved in their kids' life, even though they're not with them on a day-to-day basis. This future situation and the situations like futures make it tough to feel sorry for them, and it makes it the situation that young Scooter's like. That's not his son. It makes it more palpable. I said that right? Palatable. Thank you. Mm-hmm. More palatable to say that Russell Wilson is his dad. But even if Future was actively involved in Zaire's life, baby Future. I'm sorry. Even if Future, did I say Future or Russell Wilson?
You said baby Future.
Even if Future was actively involved in Zaire's life, mm-hmm. and Russell Wilson was still there, I still don't see any issue with him being called Russell Wilson's son, because Russell Wilson's with him on a day in, day out basis. It's a lot of things that stepfathers or step parents go through, mm-hmm. in the trenches with the kids every day that biological parents who aren't there all the time and are active don't experience. Like, it's a lot of times where biological parents just show up, take the kid out for a fun activity, and then bring them back to the house. They don't deal with the attitudes every day. Mm-hmm. They don't deal with, so I don't have any, I was in a situation like that growing up. I love my biological father. I don't have any beef with him, but if you ask me, my stepdad is my dad. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I feel like we got to stop taking everything so personal when the situation between the parents happen and cause a separation. Mm-hmm. We have a lot of dysfunctional families in this country, maybe across the world. I don't know statistics across the world, but I know for sure in America there's a lot of dysfunctional. I guess I should
broken homes. That's so to say,
broken homes. There you go. Single broken parents, homes. Yeah, mm-hmm. A bunch of broken homes in this family in America. So,
I digest exactly what you're saying, because me and you are literally on opposite ends of this situation, right?
Exactly.
Like, you know what I'm saying? So when I want to use my situation as an example, but like I said, I see what you're saying. But in the situation with my daughter, whenever she has a situation, or maybe I can't sit here and say that I deal with the attitudes on a 7 day a week, 365 day a year, because I don't. Right?
But I know she's with that me 3 days out of the week. Confides in you
100%. Anytime she has an issue, she calls me. Anytime she wants to talk about something, she calls me. Anytime she needs something, she calls dad. She calls her biological father, because I've been that for her for 16 years. You know what I'm saying? So. Mm-hmm. But whenever
that's understandable,
and thank you. But whenever you have a situation where the biological parent is absent more times than not, then I can understand why you would say, okay, yeah, D-Lo is dad, or Russell Wilson is dad. I can see that, because me growing up, I didn't have a dad or even a stepdad in my life. So my goal to myself and to my daughter was to be way better than what I ever had. Right. And which is why I moved so many mountains to be with my daughter. So, I mean, but I do agree with you though. We got to stop. There's so much division in the world already when it comes to man and woman. It's so crazy. I just don't, it annoys me. Bro. It 100 on both sides, man and woman. It's all ego on both sides. Ego. And we gotta find, it wasn't meant for us to be separate. Life wasn't meant like that. God didn't design us to be man by himself, woman by herself. He designed us to be whole and be together. But there's so much division when it comes to man and woman in this world today that it is exhausting how much we see these red pill spaces and these feminist spaces and this all of this shit about girl boss and alpha male and all this bullshit where we both know in our hearts, in our soul, in our soul of souls, in our heart of hearts, that we need to be together. But there's so many spaces where man don't need woman, so many spaces where woman I don't need no man, ain't nothing going on but the rent, all this other shit that we don't that makes no sense to the biology of things, to where things were meant to be. So of course there are situations that happen and things that that happen in life to where that you don't need to be together depending on what the situation was. But when it's all said and done, man needs woman, woman needs man, and we need to get back to that traditional value of what life is meant to be with a wife and a husband. But future is future. Future's future, and he been doing what he been doing, and he makes songs about Sierra all the time. We hear him say it in his lyrics and all this other shit. So he still want her, but he ain't never gonna get her because he ain't Russell Wilson. So, and Russell Wilson is doing a damn good job. He 100%. He should have. Because he know that Future ain't being no daddy to that child. Just because he would, like I said, it was a sperm donor, then that means he is the technical father, but he is not. He's the dad, or what's the technical term? He is the biological.
You talking about Future?
He's the paternal part of the equation, but he's not a father. He's not a dad. He's not a father. Not at all. Yeah, we know that. Everybody knows that.
He's not a support system
at all
for Zaire.
So Russell Wilson, yes, is Zaire's dad. Period.
Yeah.
Period. So, but yeah, it's to me that's touchy. And I know you that's why you prefaced it before we started recording. It is very touchy to me because I do everything I can for my daughter, everything I can. And whenever I see situations like this, it bothers me because we have to be better as a people, man. That's just what it boils down to.
Like you said, we're on the opposite ends of it, right? And I see the things that you do for or have done for your daughter. And when this came up, we've had this conversation before, right? And it was a great conversation. And I think I got more insight into how biological fathers look at stepdads. And I think you also got a lot of insight on
how stepdads,
the situation that
you're in. Yeah.
Right. And how we try to handle the situation. And so, like, for me, okay, if the biological father doesn't want me to be called dad, that's fine. But I'm still going to do everything in my power to raise the child that's in my home, even though they're not my child, as 100%. Best I can, to make sure that they are raised to be the best person that they can be when they get older, that they can achieve the dreams that they want to achieve when they get older. I want the same things as you want as a biological father, the one that's active in the family. And I'm not saying our situation is any different. The father is a great father, but he is active. But I feel like because of the step or the bonus or whatever the title may be, dad, step parent, we get treated as if we have no say so. And that's not the case. And right?
I agree.
And that's not the case. And if the child that I'm taking care of feels comfortable enough with me to think of me as a father or a dad, or they feel comfortable enough with me to not have an issue with anything that I do as far as disciplinary actions, praising them, whatever the case may be, who is anybody else to say what other than the biological parent? I mean, I'm always going to respect that. Like, I'm not going to, or I think the step parent should respect the role that they stepped in, the person that they kind of nudged out the way a little bit. They should respect that role. But inside the walls of where they control, it is what it is, right?
Yeah.
And so who is the person outside of that whole dynamic biological step parents and the child to say what and what some person is and what some person isn't to the child that they're taking care of. So young Scoot was definitely out of it. Though he was definitely out of pocket for what he said.
Yeah, he should have kept it to himself because he's not in that situation. And conversations like this is good, man. Because like you said, we've had this conversation before, and we both got some really good insight and understanding on how these dynamics work. It to me, it all depends on the amount of effort put on both sides. Because and that's how I feel. In my situation, I put in just as much effort. You know what I'm saying? So I should be looked at as the father. And Future and Russell Wilson's situation, there's no debate that Russell Wilson is that kid's dad. Period. There's no debate in that situation. Now, yeah. It's just
it could get, and I understand,
it could get complex. It could get complex.
Yeah, I don't want to, because I know how you feel about the situation.
Yeah,
and I understand the situation, but me being in the shoes that I'm in and being in my situation, I try to shed a little light on you on how you should handle the situation.
Yeah,
I don't know how that dynamic is, but I know how my dynamic is. I show the most respect to both parents. I've tried to have a conversation with the other party to make sure that they understand, listen, not going to disrespect what you got going on. You always have access to your child. I will try to make sure that that is the case. But, I am here also.
Yeah, right. Facts.
Right.
Facts.
I am here also. And so, I'm going to do everything that I can do to make sure that she's protected and she knows that she is loved, and, just raise her how I would if she was my own. And so,
yeah. And
and if you didn't know me, you would never hear me say, this is my, right. So
yeah. And I have never met the other party. Never really wanted to, but it's one of those things where I think it's an understanding that just between me and her mom that, I understand what he does and I respect what he does and I appreciate what he does. You know what I'm saying? But also know that if you know anything about me, if a motherfucker will move 3,000 miles cross country and drive that distance, he is serious about his kid. So you need to make sure that you respect me in the same vein. So I get it, man. I understand what you're saying. And I have got a lot of insight from these conversations from you for sure.